So as I've matured as a reader, one of the things that I've gotten a lot better at is recognizing when a book is not going to serve me well and just choosing to DNF it and be done with it. This happened recently when I tried Lev Grossman's The Bright Sword, and I was thinking that walking you guys through kind of my process as to why I decided to stop reading this book might be helpful in your own journey of deciding when a book might be something that you won't like, but that you should keep reading because it'd be good for you, versus one that's just going to be a waste of your time. So this is a retelling of King Arthur. It's the first major Arthurian epic of the new millennium. And going into it, I already had kind of some like, well, we'll see. I'm not entirely sure. So one of the things is that, you know, it's the retelling for the new millennium. And then on the back of it, the very first blurb on the back of it is from Rebecca Yarros, who is the lady who wrote Fourth Wing, which I have very strong negative opinions about. But in general, you can kind of tell about books and specifically what an author values based on who they ask to review their book. And so if you kind of look on the back, the next one was George R.R. Martin, who, I have about, and then Victor LaValle, who I'm unsure about. But so going into this, I was already kind of like, well, we'll see. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't read anything of Lev Grossman's, but it sounds pretty cool. We'll try it out. So I get it. I start reading it. I get about 50 pages in. And so far, I'm like, like the writing is okay. There's a couple of really good sentences so far, but like overall, I'm not really impressed with the writing. The story is kind of like, okay, well, we'll see. And then I get to this scene where it's like explaining the backstory, and there's one of the main knights, Bedivere, and Arthur are out on this deer hunt. And he says, if Bedivere were honest with himself, he didn't really care whether Arthur got the deer or not, except that it would make Arthur happy, and Bedivere wanted Arthur to be happy because he loved him, not just as a king, but as a man. Sir Bedivere was in love with King Arthur. And I'm like, all right, well. So I go into Goodreads and I start looking at the reviews for this book in order to try to get a better understanding of what actually is in it. And I'll generally, when I'm doing that, I'll look at the 5-star reviews and I'll look at the 1-star reviews. And about half of each of them you kind of have to just throw out, because it's like a 1-star that's like, this book was terrible, and it's a 5-star that's like, it was amazing. And you're like, that doesn't help me with anything. But in general, you will tend to find one or two that are very well thought out and very well detailed about what was in the book that made somebody love it, right? So in this case, one of the 5-star reviews is like, oh, I just love how much representation for LGBTQ, XYZ, ABC, whatever it is in this book. And I love that it like completely turns on its head, all this whatever. And the prose is just unbelievably amazing and incredible, right? And I'm like, okay, so this is like a big deal, right? This whole modern retelling of the Arthur story is a big deal in here. And the next best thing that this thing has to offer is apparently really, really beautiful prose, which I'm already far enough in to be like, yeah, not really. It's like, compared to most modern writers, I guess it's better than a lot of the garbage that people read nowadays. But like, I just came off the heels of a Hornblower book written by C.S. Forrester, and this literally feels like a third grader wrote it compared to that book. So I'm like, all right, so what this thing has to offer is not much in that category. So then flipping and looking at the 1-stars, and what I find is someone who obviously has a very Christian worldview, same as I do, and is like, dude, I don't want woke King Arthur. Like, this was not what I signed up for. This is there's a whole storyline of the gay guy, and then there's a trans guy, and there's a this and a that and a this and a that, and like, I'm out, I'm good. And so I look at that and I'm like, all right, sweet, cool, like I'm done, not doing it. So the thing that I want you to keep in mind with this is when you're trying to figure out if something is worth reading or not, what you have to try to realize is that you're never going to find a book, and you don't even want to find books that don't have anything that you disagree with, because that's not a good way to go about anything. Like, the point is not to find something that you fully disagree with, or not to find something that doesn't have anything in it that you don't like, right? The point is trying to find especially in novels, trying to find a story that will elevate reality from the experience of reading it. You want to be entertained, and you want to have your view of reality elevated, right? And if a story is not going to do that, then I'm out. Like, peace. I don't care who gets mad at me because I didn't read the book. Like, it's not going to do anything for me. And at the end of the day, there are so many stories. You know, there's 8 other books in this Hornblower series, which is some of the best books I've ever read. And so I'm totally fine with being like, hey, you know what? Don't want that. Moving on. So as you're reading more, as you're branching out and trying to try different things, start to kind of pay attention to all those little signs, like I say, like the way that this is marketed, you know, who's written the thing on the back of it. And then don't be afraid, especially like every single time, the minute I get to like is this where this book is going to go? I'll just go on and I'll read a plot summary for it. I'm like, hey, what's the story with this? And it's like, oh, this is the whole story. And I'm like, yep, no, I'm good. No, thanks. I'm out. Because at the end of the day, like, you don't have time to waste reading books that are going to denigrate your view of reality and denigrate your view of the world. And that's, in my opinion, what this will do. So yeah, if you're interested in it, I would say skip it and find something better. Go read The Once and Future King. And yeah, I won't be doing that at this point. Most likely won't be trying out Lev's other books. I forget what it's, The Magicians or something like that is what it's called. It's a fairly popular one on the interwebs, but probably not going to be for me. So anyways, yeah, if you read a book and you don't like it, don't just dump it, because I've read a lot of books that I didn't like that were actually really good for me. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it won't be good for you. But you need to learn the discernment to recognize when it's something that you don't like and also it has nothing to offer you. And a lot of people will get all like, you can't say that because you haven't read it, so you don't know what you really read. Yeah, I do. And at the end of the day, it's my life and I can do what I want and I'm the one reading it, so get over it. Anyways, here's some recommendations for some great books for you to check out. Hope you're having a good day. And what was the last book you DNF'd? Let me know and let me know why. Peace.